Hello, I'm Julie, and I'm going to be your host in taking you through the process of creating this little penguin. I call it a little reliquary jar, a little treasure jar. It's got little shrink it snowflake beads on it, an empire penguin that you paint, and filler, and a little flower snowflake. And because he's an empire penguin, he's got a little crown on his top. And so the first thing I'm going to do is go through the kits. When you purchase the kit for this, if you purchase the kit, you will have a choice between the blue filler or the white filler and a white ribbon. And your kit, so here's the blue kit. So I'm going to go through what's in the kit, and I'll be showing you this with the white one. You'll get your shrink it beads that are ready to shrink, and they have been pre-colored for you, and I've misted them with spray paint. So they've got a little white mist of chalk paint on them, and some have more of a white feel, some have more of a blue feel, because I put a tint of blue, two different blues on them, and I just misted it irregularly on the shrink plastic to give it the feel of light going through ice. And there's 3 of those. And then in the kit, these are the things that are in the kit. The kit comes with his little crown topper, the little wire stick that goes into the bottle. It comes with a pre-wire wrapped snowflake or flower crystal bead. We'll drop that in there. The filler, a ribbon, the corked bottle, and the little penguin will have a little hole, and the stick on it. And if you need to adjust your stick, your wire stick, I'll just quickly show you. Wire cutters will do that, but I'm hoping that these are cut to size. So that's what's in the kit. Now I'm going to show you what you need to complete this kit, what you need to supply to complete this kit. And, you know, you do not have to use the filler I put in there. You can put whatever you want in this. So this little, I just want to say that these little penguins are hand carved, and they have little glass eyes, so they're really cute. And they're ready to paint. So let's talk about the paint. Now we're talking about what you need to supply. You can use black craft paint, and if you use inexpensive craft paint, you're going to have to give it several coats. If you go up to more artist paint, you don't have to buy really fancy. This is studio grade. Studio grade is a less expensive, and you'll only have to give things 1 coat. So black and white, and then I just used this on his little smile. This is a craft paint, and I think I used fire coral. So these can be bought at any craft store, and you may have black and white. Then, if you want to do an empire penguin, as I did, with this shading on here, now you don't have to, this is optional. I used art pastels, and you'll see me just rub them out to get this easy gradated look on him. And I used Q-tips to put that on there. So this is in an orange and a yellow. But once again, that's optional. Then you're going to need paint brushes. And I marked my lines with a pencil. So paint brushes to paint. And then water in a rack to clean up. Next, to do the shrink it beads, now I talk about this, and I'm going to give you, I'll say it in this intro, and then I show a case later in the steps in doing this. You can shrink them and create forms. This one here, I used the fluted spacer bead mold. This one I used the bezel mold. And this one, the fluted spacer bead mold. But you can just shrink these flat. And because they're coated, I would recommend not putting them in the oven. if you shrink them flat. That's the only time you can use the oven is when you're shrinking things flat. When you're forming, you always have to use a craft heat gun. So you need, if you're gonna, and I recommend that you use a craft heat gun on this because of these being coated, and I'm not sure if they're safe in your oven with spray paints on them. So I use the bezel mold, and I showcase using the green fluted spacer bead mold and a heat gun, and then a bowl for shrinking. And this is for my hand forming kit to shrink it in, and you'll see how why I use this. It heats evenly, helps the shrink plastic heat evenly. So those are the things that you need to supply. And then I used, please don't laugh, this is what E6000 looks like. We all know it. I used E6000 to secure things down, but they will hold on their own. But I like to secure them with E6000. So if you have that or any of your favorite glue will work. So let's get started. In this step, we're going to paint our little penguin. And so I'm going to just quickly take a pencil. And I've got this itty bitty printout of an Empire penguin. So if you need a closer up or you want a closer up image, go to your computer and just Google the penguin, the style that you want. I'm just going to show how to do an Empire penguin. So he's got the orange on him, and I'm going to be doing that with pastels. And then this doesn't show up too well, but this little mouth thing is pink, and the rest of him is black, but it comes off kind of gray because of the way the light hits his feathers. So what I'm gonna do is just take this and draw out my little lines so I know how I'm gonna approach him. And I'm just gonna make this really simple and really, so here's this line, and I lined it up with his mouth right there. And so I'm coming around under his chin, and I'm going around like this, and down around like this. And so this area on his tummy, I'm gonna paint white. So I have pink for his mouth, white for his tummy, and black for his body. And I'm going to use a matte black, or I can use this regular black for that. These are just craft paints, so I'm shaking it up. And I've got a little palette over here if I want to. This is a new container. If the tinfoil works great for a palette. So I'm going to paint the white on first. And with this thinner, cheaper, inexpensive craft paint, it's going to take a couple of coats. So the higher quality will take less coats. So I've got one coat on, and then I'm going to let that dry, and I will give it several more until it's coated. I have him coated with white paint, and then over on my palette here, I wanted to show you options with acrylic paints. You can go to any craft store and buy tube paints that are acrylic. This is Liquitex, and this one's a Master's Touch brand. And they're much more intense, and you'll get faster coverage with them. So I squirted some out here on my palette. But if you don't have those, like I said, you can use the inexpensive craft paints. So next what I'm going to do, because my little guy's an Empire penguin, I'm going to take some pastels. And I'm rubbing these on my paper, and I've got an orange and yellow, and I'm just coming in here in this white area, And then I'm going to come up here with the orange. And if you're brave, you can gradate this with paints, but it's really easy with the pastel to get the gradated color we want. And the little penguin does get a little, we can exaggerate this. I'm exaggerating it more just because it's fun. He has a little under his chin. So then once I have those on, I'm going to come back in here and reinforce my pencil lines so that I can see them when I put the black on, because that's what I'm doing next. He's got this under here and up around here and down here and a little loopy right there. Okay. And next, I'm going to go in with the black paint. That's turning my little I was holding that, but it was moving a little on me. I'm going to switch paintbrushes because that one has some little wild hairs on it, and they're in danger of going out into the white. And I don't want that to happen, so I'm getting one that has better bristles. Going under his chin. Whoops. Yikes. And if you get, that's moving on me, I have to be careful with that little, I tend to want to grab that our little metal stick, but it wants to turn on me and move on me. So I'm carefully going around the eyes, and if I get paint on the eyes, I can use my fingernail later on to scrape it off. These are little glass eyes. And this little eye on my penguin seems a little dirty, so I probably, after I get it all painted, will use some water and clean that up anyhow. But you can see that I've gone around the little eyes. Make sure, whoops. So I'm bringing him around the front where I can see that I get this evenly under here. And then his little beak. And using what is nice about using the better quality black acrylic paint is I won't have to give this 2 coats, meaning I won't have to go over my, stay in the lines twice. So this side, I want to bring it up around a little bit more to match the other side. And then I'm going to try carefully to hold that, balancing it on my fingers so it doesn't spin or come undone. It is moving a bit. When that's dry, I'll do under his tummy, on his bottom end. So I'm going to let that dry. And then I'm going to put his smile on and There's a little spot right here that I want to get. And I'll do any touch up, like right here where I got some black, I'll touch that up. And then I'll be able to show it to you better when it's dry. So he's all dry. I kept losing my little wire stick. So, because it's my studio, I just cut a new long one. Yours will be long like this, not short. Okay, now, this, if you choose to do it and put the little line on his face, if you have a steady hand, the little line on his mouth, I'm doing this with a little nice fine paintbrush, twirling it a bit to get a nice tip on it. And then I'm just coming in here and drawing it right, painting it right there. Now, if you don't have a steady hand, just don't do it. So I'm going to go over it one more time to get it pretty strong on there. And if you get it crooked or you don't like that you did it, just get your black paint out and touch it up, because I'm going to do that on some of mine here, because there's the little tip, the wood just made it a little wide, and I would like it a little thinner. So I'm going to come in here with some black, get it a little more fluid, but yet the black will be opaque. And then just touch up along that. Now, as I said, if you do not have a steady hand, don't do this. You know, just skip it. It's it doesn't make or break our little guy. There we go. So he has his little smile on him, and he is all done, and we're going to move on to shrinking the flowers, the snowflakes for our platform. So my little guy is dry, and I'm going to come in here now and paint his little tail, and I'm just going to come across here because we're not going to see this. We won't see his bottom. So at this point, if it's you, do any touch up, like I'm doing some little touch up around his eyes because I see the wood showing. And this is your opportunity to do any touch up on him. But next, I'm going to let this dry again, and then I will paint his little mouth on. I'm ready to shrink, and I have a bowl, and of course this doesn't fit in it, but once it's shrunk down a little bit, it will fit in it, and then the heat can heat it evenly on a large piece like this. Once it shrinks down enough that it'll heat evenly, and thus making it not shrink in an oval. It'll shrink in the shape, and it'll shrink down to the original shape. And that's the reason for shrinking in a bowl, is to keep your heat contained when using large pieces. Now you have options here. If you do not have the Shrink-Its molds, these are two of them. You can just shrink these flat, and you could put them in the oven at, I believe it's 320, and just watch them carefully as they shrink down. It just takes a minute or two. And then these have, put them on a tin foil or something, because these have a finish on them. I've sprayed these with glitter, with white chalk paint, and 2 different colors of translucent paint. So you may not want to put them in your oven. You may want to use your toaster oven that you use for crafts, or your heat gun. Normally, regular shrink plastic doesn't let off enough VOCs to, such as like polymer clay does, to use, you can use your regular oven in it. But these are coated. I'm just fair warning. So I'm going to start with the big one. And I'm going to show you that I'm going to get this down a bit before I put it on the mold. Oh, the other thing that I wanted to say, I forgot, is that you have the option of using the green mold, which is a fluted spacer bead mold, or the pink mold, which is a bezel mold. And so right now, I'm just getting this down to size. It's our big one. And I will be using both molds for this, so because I have them. Big pieces take a while to heat up, and that's why it's really nice to try to contain that heat, because it keeps it concentrated in there. You see what I mean? There. And my goal is to just get this one started to shrink. There. I take the heat and pull it away from areas that are curling. Okay, so I've got this. It's kind of hot. It's more than kind of hot. It is hot. And I'm going to put it on the bezel mold. And it's okay if it cools a little bit for you to be able to touch it. Put it down on there. Let it cool enough for you to touch it. And then put it on the mold. Now, I'm going to keep around the perimeter of this, the outside of it. And I'm just really in there close. I'm just generally heating it back up. And then I will hit each flake, each point of the flake. There. I'm really close in there. I'm hoping that you can see. There. I think it's pretty well. I don't want to overheat it, but I want it soft and pliable. It was totally shrunk, but I just wanted to make sure it was warm enough to take the mold form. So I'm going to count to 10, 1001, 1002, 1003, 1004, 1005, 1006, 1007, 1008, 1009, 1010. And these guys, I can feel that they're still bendable a little bit. So I want to make sure it totally cools. I'm going to take the top off of it, blow on it. And I have a piece that I can use either way. I can use it this way, or I can use it this way. Now I'm going to go in, and I'm going to use the fluted spacer bead mold for this. And this has 5 points on it, and this has only 6. So it's just going to make things kind of irregular. And it doesn't matter. This doesn't have a top or a bottom because it shrinks things. It forms the same way on each side. There, I'm lifting this simply for you to be able to see it. There, and I keep my heat out to the perimeter on this. And when they have coating on them like these, sometimes they don't flatten all the way out. They'll have little curls in them, and you'll need the mold top to form it. Or if you're shrinking a flat piece, such as this box, the flat box, or a wooden block, as I have in my hand forming kit. So here, this is what this created, and it's adorable. And then we're going to shrink an itty bitty one. And these will shrink half in size. So this is about 1 inch. So it's going to make about a 1/2 inch a little bead or a flake. And that went really fast. And I don't even know if the mold is going to show much of a form on it. So I only, I don't have to hold it down very long. Yeah, it created some little irregularities that are cute. So anyhow, that's these little guys. Now, if I had, I'm just going to show you, if you had wanted, if you decided, oh, I want this formed the other way, then just put it back on your block, your mold, and reheat it. And this takes on this one probably to about the count of 20. 1001, 1002, 1003, 1004, 1005, 1006, 1007, 1008, 1009, 1010, 1011, 1012, 1013, 1014, 1015, 1016, 1017, 1018, 1019, 1020. And you just touch it to see if it's soft enough to form. Don't force it. If it's too hard, keep heating it. So this gives me another option if I want to go like so. So next we're going to assemble. So we're ready to assemble, and the first thing I'm going to do is open up my filler. And an easy way to put the filler in this is this way, over a piece of paper. So you can pour that back in, or creating yourself an even bigger funnel. That's why you have it on paper, so that it doesn't go everywhere, and you can create yourself a bigger funnel with a piece of scrap paper. There. And you can fill this with anything you want. And I just put filler in there for you to have that option. Then next, I'm going to put my cork on so it doesn't go anywhere. And I'm going to grab my little wire wrap, and I'm going to take and put it on the ribbon. Sometimes, let me show you a better way to do this. Put it on here. I just like the look of this better. I like tying it first and then putting the ribbon so that it's on the tie itself. Putting that right in the neck, and then just tying that on. And then I have that I have the little guy on there. Okay, and once again, oops, that slid right off. Get it down back on the neck. Tighten that up. There we go. And then I'm going to cut back my ties on that. And once again, these things are put into your kit for options. You do not have to use any of this if you want to, as this is kind of like a little winter reliquary box. Jar for you to put whatever treasures you want in it. So now let's start with the little beads that we have to assemble this with. I'm going to recommend that you use E6. If you have E6000, it helps to hold everything in place. But we're going to start with putting the first bead on. And as I said, it could go this way, or this way, depending on how you're going to design it. And if you add beads outside of what I'm putting in this kit. So I'm going to put a little blue spacer bead there, a little snowflake bead, a little spacer bead. I'm coming in here with my next trinket bead that's got some sawdust on it. And then I'm coming in here with this piece, and then this little tiny piece, and then the little spacer bead, and then I'm putting my little guy on there, and I'm finding a spot where the flake goes down to match his tail. And this is where you could glue him on there. Okay, so I'm going to do that with some E6000 or any of your favorite glue. There, put that on there. And then I'm going to clear this up so you can see. Then I'm going to do the same with the little selection on his crown, because he's an empire penguin, so he has to have a crown. And I'm putting this little blue bead on here, and a little crystal bead, and a little crown. And the kids have two different styles of crown, but they'll all assemble the same way. So I put a little bit of E6000 on the tip of that, and then I'm putting that in there. And this is our little guy. So let's see, we can swing this around so it showcases. So we showcases, and that's our little penguin reliquary treasure bottle. Okay, thanks for joining me.